With graphics like that, this guy must work out.
Afternoon, everyone. Coming to you from the shop. I thought I would go over some specialty cutters that I use on a daily basis for handyman and remodeling work. Several of these I carry in my truck all the time. Some of them I don't. But these are kind of the gamut of the tools that I use, and I'll kind of go over the ones I use the most often. But each one of these kind of has a specific use, and I'll kind of explain that as we go. So right off the bat, the one that I use the most is this Multitool. This is a DeWalt version. There are several manufacturers of this out there. This is probably the most innovative tool out of this entire set. The reason I like the DeWalt is a lot of the versions are kind of like, I'll bounce over to it. I don't carry this. This was the first one I had. This is a Craftsman. And Craftsman is kind of like some of the other brands. You've got to have an Allen in order to take the blade off. The thing I liked about the DeWalt is you just pull this down and that releases the blade to take it off. But the DeWalt version was a little more expensive than some of the other versions that are out there. Let me clean that off a little bit. You can definitely tell it gets used. So it's a DWE315. I believe I got this at Lowe's, but that's probably almost the most used tool that I have in all the tools that I use. Excellent for cutting little trim pieces. If you got a piece of wood, you don't want to take everything apart to cut just a little bit off. This thing works like a champ. So excellent tool. Does have a little light on it, excuse me, out at the end here, which helps whenever you're using it, seeing where you're cutting. Excellent. I love it, use it all the time. It does have a lock down here for the trigger lock, so you can lock it in whenever you're using it. Don't use that very often though. Like I just mentioned, this is an older Craftsman version. I'm not even sure they still make this. Has the smaller 12-volt battery on it. I usually just keep this in my shop, just as something to use in here. That way I don't have to get into my truck and get my one I use every day out. This has a light on it too. Like I said, this one just stays in the shop with me. Next tool over is a Sawzall. Everybody needs one of these. Even if you don't have a multi-tool, Sawzall is very handy. Used for cutting anything from galvanized pipe to you can put blades on it to trim wood up or cut boards, heavy demolition. So out of everything that's up here, this is probably the heaviest duty out of all of them. So if you're doing some heavy demolition, this will be a gotta have tool. Make short use of your, or make your work a whole lot easier. This is a Milwaukee version. Let's see. There's the model on it. About the only thing I've had with this is just this rubber getting beat up, but that's going to happen over time. And you can tell I use it quite often. Very handy tool. I've got a DeWalt version of this as well, but this Milwaukee is what I carry in my truck with me at all times. The chuck on it, the only thing I don't like about this, the DeWalt has a clip here that you pull back to get the blade out. Especially when it's cold out, this chuck can be a pain. You've got to twist it all the way over to pull the blade out. So it's really my only complaint about it. It is nice because when it locks in, I've never had this blade come out when the chuck's locked. But it's just kind of a pain to work with depending on your weather. Next one I use quite often is Jigsaw. Everybody needs a good jigsaw. This is for doing intricate cut work. This is a DW317. I like this. It's got a good weight to it. So when I've had several of these. I had a Craftsman I used for years, but when I had a wreck and the tools went all over the place, it got destroyed. So I've used this one for a while. About the only complaint I've got is there's not a whole lot of room between the blade and the start, so it's kind of nice when you're starting to cut, having a little more room to start the blade before you actually start cutting. So that'd be my only issue with it, would be having more table room. And you can adjust it a little bit to get a little more play out of it here. You can move the table forward, but there's still not enough room to get what I'd like to have. But it works. Use it quite often. Like I said, I like the weight of it. It's a good heavy quality tool. And you can tell it's been dragged, and kicked, all kinds of stuff. So excellent tool. These other two I probably use about the same amount. I keep this one in my truck. This is a Rockwell. They also make a... it's called a Rockwell VersaCut. They also make a Multitool, like this DeWalt. The thing I like about it is it's only got like a 3.5 inch blade, but it does a plunge cut. Let me see if I can get it here for you. So there's two different buttons on it, and you release the safety, and then that allows you to go down and plunge. And then the yellow button here is what actually makes the saw run. So on the side, you can set your depth for how deep you want to cut, and then just plunge down and cut that deep. I don't use the laser on the front of it. This is another tool that got thrown onto my truck, so the base of it did get bent. But the biggest reason I carry it with me is I keep a dry tile blade in it. So if I need to do some real small, intricate, or not really intricate, but cut some tile, and I don't want to drag my wet saw out, this dry tile blade in this little saw is perfect for cutting little stuff, especially like backsplash. So excellent little tool. I don't know that they still carry this, because I haven't seen it in the store in quite a while, but you can probably still get it online. Like I said, it's got a dry tile blade in it now. It comes with a whole set of things, and then it also has these two blades that come with it. So you can use it for cutting wood, and I'm sure they probably even make a metal blade for it, but I use it primarily for cutting tile. And the last one here, I do not carry this with me in my tool truck. I use it mostly in my shop. Stays on my welding cart most of the time. But a good angle grinder. This one is a Hitachi. There's a model number on it. Excellent little angle grinder. I use it quite often in my shop. Like I said, I don't have much use for it on job sites. But every once in a while I'll throw it in the trailer or throw it in the bed of the truck and take it with me to a job site, but not too often. It's a 4.5 inch disc grinder. It's got a cutting wheel on there now. It's actually something I probably could use quite often for cutting closet rods and metal, something that I don't want to break out a hacksaw for, when something like this will cut it a whole lot easier. So those are the various specialty cut tools that I carry with me. Like I said, they've all got their specific purpose. I didn't go over table saw, circular saw, or chop saw, so those are coming on a later video, but these are the kind of the specialty cutting tools that I use quite often, and to do the kind of work I do, these are probably tools you might want to have in your toolkit. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.
This guy needs to be a poster child for birth control. If you like that video, hit subscribe.